I've been reading the Bible. I'm going to read something to you from the Bible. It's in Mark 6:34. It says, when he went ashore, it's talking about Jesus, he saw a large crowd and had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Then he began to teach them many things. Okay, let's put your fingers up and let's kind of stretch them out as much as you can. Stretch them out, way up. Now, let's bring them together and together like this. Ooh, all together. When you put your fingers all together like that, they're crowded. It's a crowd of fingers. That's what we're seeing right there. This is not a crowd. They come all together, it's a crowd. So in Mark 6:34, it said that Jesus saw a crowd. He didn't see a crowd of fingers. He saw a crowd of people, and he had compassion on them. So this particular part of the Bible that I've just been reading this week was about a crowd who was all around Jesus. I'll tell you who was in the crowd. Disciples were in the crowd. Sinners, Pharisees, tax collectors, and scribes. Well, why? What was it about them? Why were they in that crowd? Well, the disciples were the people who believed God. They believed Jesus, and Jesus had invited them to follow him and to learn from him, and they wanted to, so they did. Now, the sinners in the crowd, those were people who hadn't been wise about the way they lived. They had done things that were not what God had said was the right way to live. They were called sinners. The Pharisees knew all about God's laws from the Old Testament, the rules. The Pharisees had memorized all of them. The Pharisees worked very hard, memorizing all of those. And they worked very hard trying to keep all of the rules, trying to obey every single law. Tax collectors. Well, tax collectors really could say are sinners because the tax collectors had a job of collecting tax, but the tax collectors were people who did their job, but then they took money from everybody they could get money from. So they were really sinners also. That wasn't the way God wanted them to live. The scribes who were in that crowd were the people who knew the Old Testament laws so much because they wrote them all down. They worked very hard to do that. So what was going on when this crowd of people was all together? Actually, the crowd was kind of like this. One crowd over here and one crowd over here. Right in the middle was Jesus. Over here were the sinners and the tax collectors being together. Over here were the Pharisees and the scribes. Well, the sinners and the tax collectors were smiling and they were listening to Jesus. Jesus was smiling and talking with them, teaching them things. They were all kind of laughing and eating together, enjoying each other. The Pharisees and the scribes are over here and they were watching. They were watching them. They were frowning. They said to each other, this part of the crowd talked to this part of the crowd, they didn't talk to them. They said, why is that man Jesus hanging out, being with sinners and tax collectors? He even eats with them. So Jesus turned around to tell them some things. He stopped talking to the sinners for just a minute. He turned to the Pharisees, to the scribes. He said, I have something to tell you. He said, you know, if a man has a job as a shepherd and he has 100 sheep, he loves the sheep. He takes good care of them. But one day, one of the sheep wanders off and gets lost. What would that shepherd do? Well, you know what he would do. He would leave all the sheep, the 99 who were saved, he would leave them right there. And then he would go off and he would look and look and look everywhere, until he found the lost sheep. Then he'd be so happy and he'd put the sheep right on his shoulders and carry him back to be safe with the 99. Jesus said, what happens with him when he's rejoicing over finding that lost sheep is what happens in heaven when a person who's been a sinner is found and recognizes that God loves them and recognizes that they want to know God through me. There's great rejoicing in heaven. Think about that. They were thinking, I guess. And then Jesus said, okay, now think about this. What if there's a woman who has 10 silver coins and she keeps them in a little bag, a little pouch, because they're very special, very valuable, but she loses one? Well, if she loses one, what she's going to do is light a lamp, and she's going to take her broom and she's going to sweep all over, everywhere, in every corner, and keep on looking and looking and looking and looking until she finds the lost coin. And when she finds the lost coin, then she will go out and tell her neighbors and her friends, rejoice with me, the coin that I lost, I found it. Yay, they're all going, yay, they're rejoicing. Jesus said, that's what it's like in heaven when one lost person repents and comes back to God. There's great rejoicing all through heaven. All the angels, everyone in heaven is rejoicing. So the frowning scribes and Pharisees were kind of looking around. Jesus thought, I'm going to tell them a parable. So he said, all right, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the older son really worked hard, many years. The younger son, not so much. The younger son wasn't really all that interested in working hard. He really wanted to have some fun. So there was one day that the younger son came up to the father and he said, Father, you know all the money that usually you would split and give half to me and half to my older brother after you die? You'd have it all set for me. I want it now. Just give it to me now, because I'm gonna go. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't really like it. I don't want to work. I'm gonna go and have some fun. So the father gave him the money that was being kept for after the father died. He gave him all that money. And the son went away, and he was really happy. He was so glad to be away from all that work and his father telling him what to do. And he thought, okay, I got lots of money now. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just spend it. Just gonna spend it on everything I want. And he did. He spent it. Woohoo! He just spent it all over the place and had such a good time. He was having such fun. Now I want to tell you a word. There's a word, prodigal. Say that word, prodigal. Prodigal, that means reckless and kind of wasteful. Reckless, like not careful. Wasteful, like don't be wise about how you use the money, just spend it. Woo-hoo, just spend it. So this son, even though he was the brother of a hard worker, he was the prodigal brother, the prodigal son. He was reckless and wasteful. Uh-oh. He spent all his money. Uh-oh. It wasn't fun anymore. If you spent all your money, well, for one thing, his friends just all left, and uh-oh. The land that he had gone to live in that he thought was going to be so much fun, well, they had a famine. A famine? Yeah, that means nothing was growing. There was no food. The prodigal son wasn't having fun anymore. He thought, well, I guess I better get a job. Oh, and he did get a job. But it was just the worst job. He got a job feeding pigs. So he was feeding the pigs and kind of had a constant headache, and he was always hungry, and he was lonesome. There was nobody there with him, just the pigs, and he was kind of looking down at that food thinking, the pig's food, maybe I'll eat the pig's food. Well, he couldn't even do that. It was the pig's food, and pigs are piggy, you know. They didn't share with him. He was sitting there thinking, man, I thought that was going to be so much fun. And then one day he thought, wait a minute. I'm thinking about my home. I'm thinking about my father. I'm thinking about how even the servants that work for my father back home have good food to eat and a nice warm place to live and a loving person to work for. He's my loving father. I want to go home. Oh, I was so greedy and unkind when I left. And I've been so wasteful and kind of unthinking, and I just feel like such a prodigal. Well, I know what I can do. I will beg my father. I will tell him, Father, I know I've sinned against heaven, I've sinned against you, and I'm not worthy to be your son anymore, I know that. But please, could I just be one of your servants? Could I do that? Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna try it. Oh, I hope it works. So he was walking, he was worried, and he was thinking, I was so wasteful. Oh my goodness, I really thought it was gonna be good, but it was wrong. Well, what was happening at the same time was that the loving father was at his house, and he was often looking and looking to see if his prodigal son was coming back. And there was one day, and he was looking and looking, and he thought, wait a minute. I think I see him. Oh, I think it's him. I think it's the prodigal son. I think he's coming this way. So what do you think happened then? Maybe the father went into his house, shut the door, and locked it because he wasn't going to get back in that house the way he left, being all prodigal and everything. No. Jesus said he started running towards the son. And when he got to the son, what do you think? He slapped him in the head, kicked him in the shins? No. Jesus said he hugged him. He kissed him right on the neck. And the son, the prodigal son, was saying, oh, Father, I'm so sorry, please. I know I can't be your son anymore, I know that. I wonder if I could just work for you as one of your servants. But the father wasn't listening to that. He was going, hey, everyone, calling to his servants, get the fatted calf, make a barbecue with it, bring a robe, put it on my son, bring new shoes, put them on my son, bring a ring, put it on his finger. My son, my prodigal son was lost, and now he's back. And so they did that. They were having a wonderful time. Well, hard-working brother, while all this was going on, was outside working hard. And he thought, what's that? What's that sound? So he called one of the servants, come here. What's going on in there? The servant said, well, your brother has returned. He's come home, and your father has killed the fatted calf, and we're celebrating, we're rejoicing. Oh yeah? Well, how great for all of you, said the hard-working son. Well, the father came out, and he said to the son, come be with us. Come rejoice with us. No, said the son. Listen, no, I've worked so hard for you all these years. You never even gave me a skinny goat for celebrating with my friends. So this prodigal son of yours comes home after wasting all his money, and you kill the fatted calf for him. No. And the father said, oh, my dear hardworking son, everything that I have is yours also. You are always, always welcome to come and rejoice with us. But this son of mine, your brother, my prodigal son was lost, and now he's found. I have to celebrate. So Jesus, that was the end of the parable. So Jesus was trying to tell these hard-working men, God loves you, everything he's offering to you, and God loves the sinners. He wants them to come back. That's why Jesus sent me to earth, to look for, to seek and save the lost, the people who don't know God, and bring them back. All right, you remember that word, prodigal? Well, we're going to do a little review of what the prodigal son is about. Okay, and your part is going to be to say, he was a prodigal son. Okay, say it with me. He was a prodigal son. Say it by yourself. Good, okay. He was a prodigal son. Good. I'm going to do part of it by myself. I'll tell you when it's your time. Okay. Two brothers. One brother wanted funny. Two brothers. One brother wanted funny. He said, Dad, I want all my money. He was a prodigal son. Yeah. Hard-working brother stayed at home to work. Hard-working brother stayed home to work. Hard-working brother stayed home to worky, but prodigal brother was kind of a jerky. He was the prodigal son. He spent all his money on having fun and being funny. Spent all his money on having fun and being funny. He spent every shiny penny. He was the prodigal son. The money was all gone, so he fed the piggies. Money was all gone, so he fed the piggies. Money was all gone, and he fed the piggies. He was broke and kind of stinky. He was the prodigal son. He went home to father to say, I am sorry. Went home to father to say, I am sorry. Father said, let's throw a party. He was the prodigal son. The hard-working brother had worked hard every day. The hard-working father had worked every daisy. The hard-working brother had worked every daisy. He said, Dad, you must be crazy. Said to Dad, you must be crazy. He was the prodigal son. Said father to worker, he's home safe and soundy. Father to worker, he's home safe, he's soundy. He was lost, but now he is foundy. He is the prodigal son. You did good.